Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm really excited to introduce to you my new podcast series called In4OURmal Podcast. Here we talk about everything streaming and content creation related with friends that I've made along my Twitch journey. In this very first episode, we have Summoner Sage, who is a VTuber Twitch streamer that I met from a mutual friend. Hope you enjoy our conversation. Let me know if you liked it and want to see more. And with that, here's episode 1 of In4OURmal Podcast. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Oh, man. So looks like we're good. We're golden. We're golden. I'm gonna bring your voice up a little bit, actually. There we go. Yeah. Well. Here we are. We're just like we're here. Oh shit. We're here. Thank you so much. Welcome to the official first episode of In4OURmal Podcast. I should have like those sounds to cue, like yay, like have you ever heard of like cheer? Yay.
Like a cheer soundboard.
Yeah, I need that right now. I should definitely work on that. But yeah, like thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Like when I decided to do this, you were like instantly the first person on my list of people to want to bring on.
I feel very flattered.
No, like honestly, because I've said this before to you off stream, but like I've always wanted to collab with Rich, Summoner Sage, and I think like I've gone over some like ideas. But I think this one was like a really good way to get us talking. But for those who don't know Summoner Sage, let me give him a quick intro. the blush. Let me give him a quick introduction, and if one of the mods could actually shout him out, Twitch official shout out for Summoner Sage. This is a friend I've met, like I would say like 2 years ago now. Who I found through Rivaldo, a friend of ours again, and suggested us to raid Summoner Sage. From the very first stream, I'm telling you, I was hooked. I was hooked on. He has a wonderful voice. He has a wonderful personality, and he's like honestly one of the kindest people I've ever met in Twitch or in real life in general. And he's a VTuber. He is now mostly a Final Fantasy 14 streamer, and also a variety streamer for indie games. So if you could please join me in giving a big round of applause. Yeah, I can't hear your round of applause, but round of applause for Summoner Sage. So yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. We're going to be talking about some very very stream related topics. But before we get into that, what's your intro like? If I rated your channel right now, what is your intro going to be like?
If you rated my channel right now, what would my intro be like? I guess something like hi guys, you can call me Rich, Summoner, or Sage, whatever you guys prefer. Because like some people prefer to call me by more personal names, some people prefer to use an epithet, and whichever one's more comfortable for them like really works. I mostly play Final Fantasy 14, but I also do indie games, casual games, chill games, RPGs, and yeah, that's basically what I say when people raid.
Mm.
It's not too scripted, so it kind of changes like every single time.
I think I do remember like when I first met you, I called you Summoner, or did I call you Summoner or Sage? One of the other. And then after a while, I started getting more comfortable calling you by Rich. I think that's over time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. Um, so like yeah, like we went over like what primarily do you find yourself streaming?
Mostly like when I started, I mostly started with just random indie games. So every stream or every couple of streams, it would be something different because I would play a game and then I would finish it after a couple of streams. Then I would go to something new since like indie games are usually really short. You can finish them in a couple of sessions. And then at some point, I just mostly started getting deep into Final Fantasy 14, like high end content. So it's been mostly like a lot of FF14 in the past, like maybe more than the last year, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I do remember the indie game days. One of the deepest, most vivid memories, and this one made a really deep impression on me, was I think either the first or second time. I don't remember if it was a raid. Oh no, I remember. I think it was a raid, and you were playing Coffee Talk. Do you remember this?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, and every time I see someone play Coffee Talk, I am brought back to this memory because it was my first time seeing that game. It was a very chill game, and uh, I was blown away by how chill and welcoming. You're like, oh, can I get you any coffee? And like I remember that moment so deeply.
I think I tried to make you a latte art of like the number 4.
Yeah. And like I thought that was so cool. Um so yeah, like indie games were really that was a really cool era. Um but like oh actually before that, basic information is where in the world are you from? I know, but like for people that don't know, like if you're able to, you know, general area.
Yeah, of course. So I'm based in the Philippines in Southeast Asia, somewhere like the northern part, like mostly.
Mm-hmm. Which I have yet to visit. But you know, we'll get there.
But you know, we don't know what the future holds, right?
Yes. Yeah, I would love to go to you know, your Wonderland. Um, and yeah, I kind of had an opportunity, but it wasn't like really in the cards. But hopefully in the future, I can journey over to the land of Summoner Sage. Um, but speaking of journey, because I don't know, like I don't know how far in along like I met you on your Twitch journey. Like could you tell us about how like how your journey went and where along the timeline did I enter the picture?
I think when I met you, it hasn't been a year yet, and
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't have a model yet, so I wasn't like even a VTuber at that point in time. It mostly started, I think, roughly April of I think that was 2021. So it's been like more than 2 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I started mostly just as a voice only streamer, so no images, not even a display image at the bottom corner of the screen. It's just literally me playing random indie games just as a disembodied voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I mostly played like random indie games. And at some point I started segueing into longer games like RPGs. And I played like a whole bunch of them along with like the intermittent FF14 content, which at that point was pretty sporadic still. And then like around my first I think like into my first year, like January of 2022 was when I debuted as a VTuber officially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the model you guys see right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just been mostly doing the same things I've always been since I started.
Okay. Okay. So very interesting. So a couple questions though. Um, like between long form and short form like games, do you have a preference?
I definitely like have playing like the short indie sessions that you could basically do one stream of and you're done with the game,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like a very self-contained episode, so to speak,
Yeah.
compared to something that's like a longer journey, especially if it's like a one-time stream indie game kind of thing. Like if someone comes in the middle, you can kind of catch them up to it really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say it's an RPG and you're on your roughly, I don't know, 11th session of that. It's pretty much impossible to summarize like everything that happened before that. So,
True. True.
but at the same time, since I've mostly been doing like Fantasy 14 content recently, and it's mostly gameplay over story or narrative, like at least the end game content I've been doing, it doesn't really take much to like, okay, what is he doing right now? Because like it's basically just learning a couple of fights. So for people who don't know what endgame Final Fantasy 14 content is, it's mostly learning a choreographed graph dance, except it's in like the form of a battle, and you typically just take weeks or months just learning the dance steps, so to speak, until you can execute the fight like to perfection. So mostly it's been like that for like the last year, like learning different fights and trying to like win after like mastering the execution.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, like it has been really fun though, because it's different from like a story narrative focus I've been doing in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But in both cases though, I've met like lots of terrific people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really choose if
I
it
see.
comes down to it, I suppose.
Okay, all right. That's actually very interesting the way you put that, like the dance um routine kind of analogy, because I didn't realize it was that strict. Is it that strict?
Yeah, it's mostly,
Like,
but I mostly use the dance choreography kind of analogy because it's not really as random as people would think when they kind of like watch Final Fantasy 14. It's pretty scripted, like the way the fights are structured. It's pretty scripted in terms of like what happens. Like
uh-huh.
the first minute of the fight, this is always going to happen.
Yeah.
Like 4 minutes and 32 seconds in, this is always going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like the an easy way to kind of get people to understand like what's going on, I suppose.
I think you should keep using that analogy because that instantly helped me understand it, because I didn't realize it was that yeah, because I always looked at it as, because, well, with my minimal knowledge of like RPG games, like you would think that, you cast, and then if it fails, you adjust accordingly. um but the way you put it makes it seem like it's definitely, there's less margin for error. Is that accurate?
Yeah, at least for the high end stuff. Like
Mm,
it typically comes down to a body check because most high end content is done by 8 people. So if one person messes up something, there's a high chance that everyone just kind of wipes and you
okay.
have to start all over. So
Oh,
I would say it's pretty accurate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I because I know I've listened to you, like sometimes, like uh whenever you personally make a mistake, you get down on yourself quite a bit, and like um it seems like there's a lot resting on people's execution. um but that's no that's actually makes it a lot more sense to me now. And then actually, going back to the like the PNG and your model and everything, because that was one of the most exciting things for me, like knowing you. You're one of the two VTubers that I watch the most. uh, and like it was really cool. I was really excited for you when you decided, like when you told me you were going to transition into VTuber. Was that always part of the plan?
It wasn't actually. Like when I started, that was April of 2021. I had no plans of becoming a VTuber at all because I mostly just wanted to. Okay, so I think we should go back like months before I started streaming. So I started getting into Twitch. Like I've always gone and watched Twitch like streamers and stuff like over the years, but it was mid 2020 that I really got deep into it because the pandemic and all was at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself feeling better just by watching like a couple of streams from specific people. Like my mood just would improve and I felt like I was I wasn't really feeling alone and there was a sense of community, especially in certain spheres. And that kind of happiness that like I was getting from just watching and being around these communities, I wanted to kind of give that back to other people, even if it's just like one person out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so decided to start after some point, but not having very high self-esteem or self-image.
Mm-hmm.
Using a camera for me like was out of the question. It was definitely something that I didn't think I would do, and at this point still I think I never really will do.
Mm-hmm.
But like after some point, I also kind of got to know a bunch of other VTubers, and then I kind of got the idea that I could be more than just a disembodied voice,
Mm-hmm.
like talking over like a video game that I'm playing, and I could sort of materialize, I suppose. And because it gives people like a face to kind of look at that kind of represents who I am. And but definitely it wasn't like planned at the start, but since like wouldn't say it was spontaneous either because it does take like a bit of planning. You have to get someone to do your model, to do your rig and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I'm really happy with the journey that I've taken to get here.
Okay. Can I ask you a bit of a personal question? Feel free to not answer, but once and for all, can we know, is your real life hair purple?
I actually wish it was, but unfortunately, it is not.
Immersion
It's
break. I'm kidding.
mostly because I'm Asian, like
Mm,
so, and Asians usually, because like I'm ethnically Chinese,
mm-hmm.
so most of our hair is usually just black or
Mm-hmm.
like very very dark brown. It becomes kind of black,
Mm-hmm.
at least to like the naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did dye it like red, sometime end of last year,
I was
and
about
it
to
still has
say,
that color.
yeah.
So I might do purple in the future though. So never
Ooh.
say never,
Oh,
right?
oh, okay, okay, okay. I think that would like be the ultimate like, um VTubers to real life like awesome connection because I know some people like model their VTuber after their real life self. And so they have characteristics or physical traits that their real person has. Um but another thing I want to actually dive into is your name, Summoner Sage. I can only assume that it relates to your model, or vice versa. Your model relates back to your name. How did you settle on Summoner Sage?
It's funny actually because these days I mostly stream Final Fantasy 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Final Fantasy 14, there's a job class called Summoner, and as of
Mm-hmm.
the last expansion, there's a job class called Sage. So people assume like my name is because I play those classes. But in FF14, I mostly main Black Mage, so people feel deceived when they see that you're not playing a Summoner, you're not playing a Sage. But really, it goes back to like the older FF games. Like think to way back like FF3, FF4, in which case like Sage is usually the ultimate magic class and usually represents mastery over like both black and white magic disciplines,
Mm-hmm.
with like summoning being like a separate class from it.
Mm-hmm.
And these were some of my favorite job classes, so I just kind of combined them together. And I've been using this since I would say roughly high like high school, college era, and it's just the name that stuck since.
Mm.
There has been a really funny story though, where people thought I was just like a really huge Riot fan, and they thought the summoner was from Summoner's Rift and the Sage was from Sage from Valorant. So
Oh.
I thought that was hilarious.
Imagine being that into Riot games, that you you use two of their games in your whole name.
Like biggest Riot fan ever.
Yeah, biggest Riot fan. Okay, that's pretty interesting then. Also one like off really off the chain, like off the rail question. And I hope I don't catch you off guard with this. Imagine a scenario where I'm in your party. We're fighting up against like the, I wouldn't say the final boss, but like the boss before the final boss, right? If I die,
Mhm.
I'm out of the party. So you're on your own in the final boss. You're only one hit left um from defeating the enemy. I only have 1 HP left. And it's your turn. What skill do you cast on your turn?
Ooh, this is a tough one. Because I'd definitely be tempted to like heal you up
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that like, you know, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But assuming the boss is at like a tiny sliver of HP left
Mm-hmm.
and like one cast will defeat it,
Mm-hmm.
then I'd probably go for the cast and then just heal you up after. Because
Mm-hmm.
like at least this is assuming like an RPG scenario, right? In which case, like if you're not poisoned or burned or you're not afflicted by a status effect,
Mm-hmm.
then I can beat the boss and heal you up after, and like everything's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then imagine the inverse scenario where I heal you up, the boss uses some move that you didn't expect, and then like something worse happens.
Right.
So I would go for my strongest spell, damaging spell.
What would that be?
Most likely an ice related spell. For some reason, I gravitate towards like ice magic a lot.
Mm.
It's generally my favorite class of spells in video games, like ice and lightning,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic because in Final Fantasy 14, Black Mage's primary damage ability is mostly fire.
Right. Right. Um, wouldn't the plot twist be that I was poisoned, and then immediately after I take poison
Oh
damage?
no!
No, but I like
Phoenix
that.
Downs are a thing,
It,
right?
it shows me that the like yeah, the definitely like um the foresight is there, because I didn't think about that, where if you healed me, maybe like they the turn right after they one shot me, or something like that. So the foresight, getting the job done, getting the mission done, um that's very respectable. um and actually, going back to you and your summoner like branding, I guess you call your community floating continent, right?
Yeah, I mostly say the floated continent. It's kind of like the space that represents the stream, the Discord, like everything else related to the stream, I suppose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You don't have to have one, but is there any like memory that stands out to you in your community in the floating continent?
Like it's hard to name a specific moment because like there's like a lot of things that's happened over like the past 2 years, right? So it's hard to
Mm-hmm,
think of one thing.
mm-hmm,
But because recently I've been mostly progging Ultimate Fights, and it's always fun when people cheer you on, give you advice,
mm-hmm,
and it's especially satisfying when you get that boss kill and they're there with you,
mm-hmm.
and people like get to watch you like have that satisfaction of culminating that month-long journey and stuff.
Yeah,
So
the payoff.
and but there's definitely been like a lot of fun moments. I think like another fun moment that I could think of is like June of my first year and second year of streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So something I did at least for the first 2 years for Pride Month was s- do daily
I
streams
remember
like
that.
for the entirety of June, and especially for the first month, like for 2021, it was really memorable because I met so many friends from that month. Because I made a point as well to only raid out to queer streamers like after I ended,
Mm-hmm.
and through that I met so many really nice LGBTQIA plus creators,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are still friends to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, like I would cherish that as a one of those special memories for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I do remember that too. Like that's very relevant to this topic. I didn't have this in my like prepped questions, but like can you tell us how um it is streaming for a whole month consecutively every day? It was every day, right? You
Hmm.
said daily stream. So like how did you do that? How did you like were you burnt out? Like how did you feel?
At the start, it's really fun because then you're riding that momentum of just enjoying yourself.
Mhm.
But then like it does get to you like midway through because you do feel tired. Sometimes you want to break, and people do deserve breaks. You know,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
necessarily breaks where you have to like, oh, apologize for taking a break. Like you just take a break because you're human and you need it, kind
Mhm.
of.
Mhm.
But then it's something I committed to doing, and something I definitely didn't want to give up on, even though like the thought has crossed me like midway through.
Mhm.
But I think like one thing that helped push through was just knowing it's only an entire month and not like longer,
Uh-huh.
and also that like I really wanted to bring visibility because it's like Pride Month. We get once a month where like you're we're at the forefront of like things, and corporate does pander to like
Mhm.
the LGBTQIA plus
Mhm.
community, and so you want to kind of use that to show that there are also tons of LGBTQIA plus creators on Twitch. And I think like knowing that I could essentially potentially be like a role model for maybe some queer kid out there was definitely one of the things that wanted me to not give up
Okay.
on that entire plan of doing at least one stream for like June, because especially the first month, right?
Yeah.
I was specifically focused on like the games I selected. It was still my indie game phase. So I was mostly doing queer related games at the time, like games with a specific queer focus. So
Right.
sometimes the themes would be quite heavy, but at the same time, these are topics that need to be discussed and talked about as well. And yeah, but like I would say definitely for everyone that like take breaks, take as much breaks as you guys need.
Do you plan to do it
Breaks are healthy.
again this June?
I'm not quite sure because I do have to travel like midway through the month, so I can't
Oh.
like I can't do a daily
Mm,
stream
yeah, yeah. Okay.
because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll
Um
see. Like I could do like half of it.
mm, but that's really like that's incredible. It must take incredible will to like push yourself through. But also like that's a really wholesome like what you said about like maybe someone is looking up to like a member like an LGBTQIA streamer and might inspire them. So I really like that behind it. But actually, this transitions perfectly into the next thing I wanted to ask you is um you mentioned, feeling like stopping in like midway through the month, but in general, in your whole streaming journey, was there any point like that you found like you wanted to just quit streaming or take at least a hiatus? Because of the streamers that I know, you're among one of the most consistent. Like in terms of not taking any breaks or hiatuses, minus vacations, which those are understandable, but like just personal hiatus or like your streams are very consistently. I know in a week, unless you're traveling, you're going to be on live like at least once a week, multiple times obviously, but at least once a week I can see you live. So I consider you one of the most consistent. um have you ever thought about quitting any point?
I would say definitely. I feel like this is something that goes through every creator's mind. Like the thought of quitting at some point like just emerges. And I feel like if someone says they haven't thought of it at least once, they're capping. Because it's very easy to like go through, especially if you've been doing this for like a long time. Like there are certain seeds of self-doubt that like would emerge like randomly, like certain thoughts like whispering on your right ear you hear, oh, what if I'm not good enough for this, and your left ear you hear like, oh, maybe like I should just stop. It's not really working out. I'm not entertaining enough. My voice isn't good at all. I'm not playing the right stuff that keeps people engaged.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
random like thoughts just like, I feel like everyone goes through like these kinds of negative self doubts, especially when they uh, either create content or just stream on Twitch. So it's definitely crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But like the way I look at it is to go back to my original reasons for starting to stream, like back in like 2021, like April, like before that. Why
Mm-hmm.
did I decide to start? Because I was feeling happy from watching people and being in these communities,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to like spread that kind of like joy to other people. So, and then I think about like what I do when I currently stream, and I still manage to accomplish that. Like at least one person today can be made, and if I can still make someone's day, I think to myself, that should be enough. So it's definitely, I've definitely thought of quitting at some point, but like with all negative thoughts, they're just ephemeral and transient.
So was it was never really like a close possibility? Like how close were you?
I would say just
Percentage scale.
I would say it's a lot like closer after you take like vacations, because you did mention like the vacation parts, right?
Yeah.
Like where I would take like a couple of weeks off because like I'm traveling somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and when you get back, because you usually like after not streaming for a while, you really do kind of forget the groove of how like things are done
Mm-hmm.
and what to say and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like it's been closest around that time, because when you get back, it's like, oh, it actually felt kind of good not streaming for like 2 weeks and just like touching grass, and then you're like, maybe I can delay like pushing that go live button one more day."
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, it's not really been like as close as people who have taken like long hiatuses because of major life changes and stuff.
Okay. Also touching grass. What's that? Uh um when was the most recent point? Was it after your most recent vacation?
I like where I considered like completely quitting. I think it's been like a while actually. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a while
Okay.
since.
That's good. I mean, it's a sign that you're enjoying it. You're riding momentum at the moment, and you're enjoying it. So that's good. That's good. Um. Uh. Actually, uh, speaking of motivation, perfect segue. You know, yet again, to the next thing I want to ask you. Was there any moment that you can remember that like completely elevated your motivation in your stream to like oh man, I'm gonna keep going, like a wholesome or like invigorating moment that you were like, wow, this is this is so good, I'm definitely gonna keep going.
It's hard for me to think of like a singular like one-time moment
Or a type of
because
moment.
it's yeah, it's more of a cumulative thing where
Mm-hmm.
it's basically all the people I've met and that I continue to meet through
Mm-hmm.
this platform. Like you, for example, it's like without Twitch, I would have met you 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I've continued to meet so many people because of Twitch that have played a very impactful role in my life and
Mm-hmm.
continue to play that impactful role in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if like like hypothetically, if I stop streaming, it's like, oh, like this connection just gets cut off completely.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like all the people I've met is like over the years. It's not one singular moment, but it's like all the moments that everyone has made and has been a part of, like as a whole, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's more of the community.
Yeah.
Mm, I see. I see. I do say like a lot of people echo that sentiment. Like community aspect of Twitch is one of the strongest motivators. Um, which leads me to my next question. For someone new joining your stream, how would you describe your community?
I would describe them as nice, pretty playful at times, because I feel like every streamer out there has a chat that kind of bullies them.
No
But generally,
way.
like everyone's like friendly, supportive, not just of me but of each other,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely just people that you'd like to vibe and hang around with, you know.
Mm, okay. Um, have you gotten to know like a lot of your community members over time?
I definitely have some more than others,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be nice to meet more people in person, but since like everyone's scattered in different countries and
Mm-hmm.
in this case continents as well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily as easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like I've definitely gotten to know what people's interests are, what people's personalities are like, just from the over the years of people talking, chatting, and from being in their streams as well.
Yeah. Speaking of continents and like time zones and all that, on the subject of that, what do you find is like your most of your demographic, or not demographic but geographically, where do you find most of your audiences tuning in from?
Oh, that's interesting. Because when I started, it was mostly from like North American side,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because the a lot of the people that I met before I started streaming was from that like hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I started doing more Final Fantasy 14, I started meeting a lot more Southeast Asians as well as
Ah.
people from like Japan and and Australia. Like I met a lot of Australians from Twitch.
Oh.
So I would say like it's leaning more towards that side like these days as well.
Right, right. And is it because like is it through Final Fantasy 14 that you're meeting them? Or are they
It
finding
definitely
your
plays a
stream?
part in it. Yeah, it definitely plays a part in it as well.
Uh-huh.
Because and also I think time zone wise, it's the closest. Because
I
even
see.
myself, I have difficulty catching people's streams, especially if they're EST and they stream at nighttime.
Right.
Because it'll be daytime for me, and
Right, right.
it just doesn't like work out. So I think it's like time zone plays like a huge part to it as well.
Mm. 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 What times speaking of, yeah, time zones and stuff like that as well, like what times do you find yourself most active?
Mostly around 8:30 GMT plus 8, like these days, like
Mm-hmm.
8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually end like at very random times that even future me probably can't predict. So I can probably like end as early as like 11:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
GMT plus 8,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, it's 4 a.m. Oh my god. Yeah, it's unpredictable.
All right.
But
And
I mostly start like nighttime, my time zone.
okay, yeah, nighttime. And while we're on the subject, another personal question: can we get a sleep schedule reveal?
Sleep schedule
Yeah,
reveal. What's a sleep schedule?
we're here for the juicy stuff. We want to know the secrets.
Is a
But
sleep schedule edible?
so no sleep schedule is what we're hearing.
But generally, no. Like it's been kind of a mess in the past, but since I got sick recently, I've actually been sleeping like pretty early, like recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as I end stream, I basically just kind of knock out in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's been healthy, like recently, for now at least.
For now, okay, okay. Um,
I have to put that important caveat there.
do you actually find yourself gaming off stream?
I actually have been a bit more recently as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like there are certain games that I wouldn't say I play on stream at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like games like League of Legends or Valorant that
Mm-hmm.
I might stream once in a blue moon, but like I find fun to just do off stream with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same time, because there was a point where I was basically just streaming like a lot of the games I was playing, right? And it made it hard to enjoy games off stream because then like I would boot up a game and I would think like, oh, maybe I should just stream and um play this on stream. But
Yep.
then like you also want to enjoy games like on a personal level with just yourself
Right.
because that's also good and healthy.
Yep.
So I've been doing it a lot more recently. Yeah,
Okay. Would you say your catalog of games that you stream versus catalog of games that you don't stream are vastly different?
I would say like it's not all that different necessarily. Like Final Fantasy 14, which I do a lot of on stream and also off stream.
Mm-hmm.
But like when it comes to like more multiplayer focused games with like friends and stuff, because sometimes people feel more comfortable as well if you're on voice calls
Mm-hmm.
and to just speak freely if they know they're not being recorded and stuff. So when it comes to more multiplayer focused games like Overwatch, Valorant, or League, I find myself more comfortable not necessarily streaming them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like in that regard, like some parts of it are different, but some parts are basically one and the same.
Okay. I didn't know you play Overwatch.
Yeah, I dabble into like most games,
Oh,
like the full variety right there.
see, that's the thing. Like why I ask you this is because for myself, it's kind of like that too. Um, and I'm sure that it's like that for a lot of streamers as well. Is that like some games they're just better enjoyed by yourself off stream. And so like it if you don't ask someone what they play off, I wouldn't have known you played Overwatch. I know you did play Valorant. I don't know how often you play it, nowadays, but and also League too. Not so much. I didn't really like. I know you've dabbled, but I don't know like that you played it. Like how frequently do you play these?
I would say like when friends invite me more so than I invite them. Usually like someone just wants to play and then I'm not doing anything that night, like, oh sure, I'm down, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot more spontaneous. Like Valorant, not as frequently. I would say that's like a once in a couple of months kind of game. I've been playing a lot more League recently though.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like Overwatch, you did mention like you didn't know I played it. It's one
Yeah.
of those games I've also never done on stream before. Because it's one of those games you just kind of want to chill with friends with sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even while drinking.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that's crazy. I it sometimes you can learn something about somebody by just like their catalog of games. which I find like it's pretty interesting that like your on stream games and off stream games are, you know, slightly different. Um, so have you, because we're talking about like competitive games too, like Overwatch, Valorant, like I'm sure like you've had your fair share of molding and rage, but we've never seen that before. Well, at least I have never seen that before on stream. Have you ever done that, raged, or like was just you've lost it on stream because of a game?
Uh, yeah, definitely. I think it was actually a Final Fantasy 14 stream because I was doing PvP in FF14, and the way the mode works is it's basically Overwatch but with Final Fantasy 14 abilities and stuff. And I was doing the ranked version of the thing, which is already like a bad sign. But generally, I feel like I compose myself like pretty well to not mauled in general.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the most toxic thing you've ever said?
Like on stream or
Yeah.
like ever.
Or we could get if we can get both.
Because if it's like on stream, I think it's. I'm trying to think, and it's really hard to remember specific details. Because usually when you like mauled at people, you're not mauling at them.
Mm-hmm.
You're just mauling in front of a screen, and those words aren't hitting anyone. If that makes sense.
True. Yeah, yeah.
Because
No, that
like
makes sense.
that's where like the line in the sand gets drawn. It's like it's okay for you to kind of just shout at your monitor if no one can really the person you're shouting at doesn't like you're just shouting to release your grievances, not
Mm-hmm.
to like make someone feel bad about themselves, if
Right.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Completely.
And so if it's like something like I can't think of anything really that's been recent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If
Damn.
you do know a memory, do let me know.
Keeps it
Filling that blank
clean.
for me.
Keeps it clean. I like that. I like that. Very tidy. Well composed. Because that's more or less like the Rich I know. I know like you, obviously you have your moments, but like generally speaking, when we've played games, like, and this is why I really like playing. Like it's such a chill environment, and one of the reasons why I moved away from League is because of like really um toxic competitivity. Is that a word?
It
Competitiveness.
is now.
um yeah, and that's why I moved away from League, is because like, you know, like like you could get destroyed for the smallest things. um so let me put you on the spot again. Let's do a little role play. Might be hard, but let's say um uh let's use Valorant. Let's use Valorant as an example. Let's say you were defending B. There's one enemy left, and you and me against one. And I take the long way around to flank, but I collect a couple orbs along the way. You end up getting killed, and then I'm late, and they defuse the bomb. What do you say to me? Do you say like, yeah? What do you say to me?
That it was a nice try.
There he is. Oh my god. There you go.
Yeah,
See? Go on.
here's the thing. The reason it's also hard for me to mold in like competitive based games
Mm-hmm.
is because I like to play games. I'm just not a good gamer in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can't do those things that I want people to do myself.
Okay.
So it would be disingenuous of me to get mad at people when if I were in their shoes, I would probably have done worse than them, you know?
Oh, I see. I see. Humble. The humility there is unreal. But still, that. Oh man, I didn't expect that answer though. Nice try. NT. I should have expected it. I was like low key expecting like
I
you asshole.
feel like
um,
it's one of those things where it's like even with close friends, like because close friends like to poke fun and jab at each other, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it's like terms of endearment or affection.
Yep, yep.
But at the same time, it's like if it's like competitive based games, people tend to get heated like really quickly depending on the situation. So
Yeah,
sometimes it just helps to not really aggravate that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
and like I said, I'm not a good player at all.
Mm-hmm,
Because even though I gave like all those examples of competitive based games,
mm-hmm,
like at the core, I mostly enjoy like the narrative focused story based games that are slow
mm-hmm,
and RPGs at least, which I mostly grew up on. And so with these things, like it's just you yourself
mm-hmm,
with like the characters, and you can take as much time as you want making decisions without really having anyone pressure you or rush you. And if you fail, you just kind of start all over again.
mm-hmm.
So I would say as a gamer, my skills have really never been developed.
Okay, that's fine.
So so at the same time though, when I mentioned, because it's impossible to not have those moments where you get mad. Those moments where you do get mad, you feel like you could have done something a lot more in those situations. But for the most part, I'm usually doing a lot worse than everyone else.
Okay, all right, all right. This is actually off topic. Not off topic, but it's a little bit of a tangent. But it got me wondering, because you know how every competitive friend group, like let's say like your friend group is playing competitive Overwatch, League, or Valorant, whatever it is. There are certain archetypes for each friend group, right? There's the kind of glue that holds the team together.
For sure, for sure.
There's the hothead that like coaches everyone, right? Or like takes charge. There's the one that focuses on the mission at hand, like keeps everyone on track of what we need to do. And then like there's supports and whatnot. How would you classify yourself in your competitive gaming friend group? What's your what kind of role do you find yourself in?
Definitely the support.
The
Like
support.
for most games I play in, I usually take a more supportive role.
Uh huh.
I think Final Fantasy 14 is like the rare case
Mm-hmm.
where it's like instead of being the healer, I go for like a more offensive class.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because I like offensive magic in general.
Mm-hmm.
But like that class archetype doesn't necessarily hold true in like certain video games. So
Mm-hmm.
I tend to play a more backseat like supportive role.
I see. I see. And are you the type that like words of encouragement type of thing? If like your team's
And
doing not bad, like doing bad, or you'd be like, "We got this, guys." Words of encouragement, or
I don't think it goes like that extreme where you're always shouting some inspirational quote every 5 minutes though. Where you're like, we can do this 5 minutes later. We got this. We're definitely gonna win. Like 2 minutes later. Yeah, good job, good job, good job, nice job. Like I don't think it goes like that far. But I definitely want to be more encouraging, like as much as possible.
yeah,
Although there are moments when you do kind of take a leadership role when you feel like a good call can be made.
yeah, yeah. Rich has casted cheer. um, but okay. Have you ever well, this kind of gets a little bit um, I don't know, I wouldn't say deep, but have you ever gotten into an argument or slash lost a friendship, quote unquote friendship over a game? Feel free not to answer, by the way, if it gets too personal.
Over a game, I would say like there definitely have been fights in the past because of like video games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can be something as trivial or petty, but like they still happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's normal and healthy that
Mm-hmm.
friends like have these kinds of arguments.
All right.
Because like if you never have these arguments with your friends, like what happens one day if like you guys suddenly fight, like and you guys don't know how to react to this or resolve it?
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely like it, these moments have definitely happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, these provide good moments for reconciliation
Yeah.
and like a learning experience for like both parties and stuff.
Mm. Okay. Um, Going back to molding slash raging, actually, uh, a little bit also on topic. Is there any embarrassing moments that you've ever had on stream?
When is it not an embarrassing moment on
I
stream?
love clipping like your out of context clips. But like, is there any that stand out to you that you were like, oh my god, have you ever doxed yourself by accident or anything?
Oh, I haven't doxed myself yet.
Okay, he's safe.
Hopefully, it stays that
He's
way.
safe. He's safe.
Uh, maybe the drunk streams would qualify. Like they're
Mm.
not like super embarrassing, but then I remember like people saying I was slurring because like slurring my words when I
Yeah.
was drunk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then like at that moment, like you don't feel it, you are.
Mm-hmm. Um.
I think like it was one time as well when I was literally playing Valorant with you,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point I had to like go excuse myself to go and throw up in the restroom.
Yeah, I that stands out to me also because it was one of the few times we played Valo together where we drank and played, and then we had our champion. You had J9. I had who was mine? Who was my champion?
Harvey,
Harvey.
Harvey.
Yeah, Harvey. And they pretty much did all the work. And if they got the headshot, we had to drink. So that was definitely fun. I wouldn't say embarrassing personally. That was just all around fun. Um, okay. Was it on one of your streams where you sculled a whole bottle? Is that one of your drunk streams
Uh,
of soju? I think.
I
I think.
actually don't remember if I did that like on my stream. I definitely remember doing it on your stream though.
Okay. Okay.
Like where we raced to down a whole bottle of soju,
Oh my
which
gosh.
by the way, for the record, I can no longer do.
Oh.
Like finishing an entire bottle in like seconds.
Uh
I could
huh.
have done that like 2 years ago,
Uh huh.
probably,
Uh
or
huh.
that was like a year ago.
Uh huh.
But like I feel like my metabolism has gotten worse at
Mm.
least. And so I'm not sure if I can do that again.
I'm confident that I could have done it in a past lifetime or an alternate universe, but for sure not in this life. Never, never, never could, never will.
Oh, I
Um.
actually thought about something for the embarrassing thing.
Okay.
But it's not like embarrassing moments that play on my stream per se.
Uh huh.
It's so you know how people have these shout out commands sometimes
Yeah.
that play like clips from your
Oh.
channel,
Yeah.
and the way these work is so because like people like to clip things, and you know this because you do a lot of the
You
clipping as
don't
well,
say.
like things that are very out of context.
Yeah.
And so when people shout you out in their channel and like a clip plays, it's something completely off mark, something
Oh.
completely off base, just the
Mm-hmm.
most random thing. And you have to basically explain yourself and like, oh, that was yeah, that was a moment. That was,
I
and
okay.
sometimes it's so hard to explain context.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good one though. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. That's pretty. That can get pretty interesting. Depending on how
Yeah.
the streamer shouting you out reacts to it. um, because some streamers go with it and they'll be like, okay, yeah, and then some people are like, oh, oh, Monka S. Okay. Um. Um. I want to talk about some technical stuff. We've been talking a lot about your streams, and the content of your streams, but let's go technical a little bit. Are you team Streamlabs or team OBS?
I am team OBS. Like, do I have to explain and expound on the
No,
answer?
no, no. I was about to kick you out of the call. I'm kidding. Oh, no, no, no. Was it always the case?
Yeah, mostly because when I was starting out, like I asked people advice on like what I should use, and people were like, "Oh, use this. Don't use Streamlabs and
Mm-hmm.
stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
okay, I trust people's better judgment, and I'll just follow what people ahead of me have done,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I've just been using it ever since.
Okay. And so it was never a consideration to use Streamlabs.
No, no.
Mm. Okay. Um, when you first started using OBS, do you remember like your first thoughts about it? Like, was it easy for you? Was it confusing?
Oh my god, yeah. I remember it being like complicated to me. Like, why are there so many buttons and there's like so many settings and I have no idea which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like specifically for the first I think like before my first stream, I had to have people specifically walk me through like in a very detailed manner, like, oh, where you have to go to set up the sound, the video, to like link stuff, like the screens and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just really confusing. If I didn't have a friend to guide me through it, I think I would have given up streaming before I even started.
Wow. I mean, it can be very daunting for a lot of people, and um, but like in your stream, uh, like talking about your stream overlays, has that evolved as you progressed? Did you start off with like a certain way, or I don't really see like too many overlays on your stream, but like you're getting started stream, screen, endings. Like has that evolved, or was that always like the same?
Oh yeah, for sure. When I started, especially when I did indie games, I would mostly just have the indie games startup screen like prepared, and kind of just like have a text like written over it, like starting soon or something, that I would just click to remove like after like I'm ready to talk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I had a good friend of mine, like I commissioned him to make make this art piece that I've been using for my stream starting and ending, be right back screen,
Mm-hmm.
like for like more than a year now, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm really really happy with.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like it's evolved since then, and because like I'm really happy with what I have,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any strong feelings of changing it anytime soon. We might add to it, but
Mm-hmm.
like it's there to stay. So I
Nice.
would it's definitely evolved and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And now talking about your physical setup, um, like for your stream, has that evolved? Like equipment wise and stuff?
Equipment wise, I would say it has as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was starting, since I was just a disembodied voice, right? I didn't really need a camera at all.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, I had no webcam,
Mm-hmm.
like whatsoever. I basically didn't need one for any purpose, so I never bought one.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, okay, I commissioned someone to make a VTube model and to rig a VTube model. And it was at that point, it's like, I need a webcam soon. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's like the biggest improvement,
Mm-hmm.
because when I like before I started, I kind of prepped like everything first. Because the reason I was able to stream was because I had this setup from just building a gaming computer for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mostly lived off of having a laptop for like the last decade before I got like the current setup. And I would say it's like it's pretty standard with like two monitors and stuff, but nothing really fancy.
Okay, two monitors. What do you dedicate your monitors for? In your
One's definitely for chat mostly,
mm-hmm.
because like one monitor is going to have the game at full screen most of the time.
Yep.
So if I need to do anything else, like be it like typing shout outs
Mm-hmm.
or just like checking up guides,
Mm-hmm.
or even checking up on my friends' streams, it
Mm-hmm.
would have to be on the other monitor.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like it in smaller windows, or do you like just? I know it's very specific, but like I'm
I
very
think I just
interested.
have yeah, one giant window, but with like a bunch of other tabs, if in case I need to like switch really quickly.
Interesting, interesting. Because I know a lot of people can make a lot of use with like just limited screens. I could never do that. Like I feel like I need too many screens for too little reasons. And like
Right.
I've seen people make it work with just one screen, which I like.
Exactly.
Um,
I've seen people stream with just one monitor, and I honestly commend those people who can make it work because I can't imagine like keeping up with your game, keeping up with chat with just literally one monitor.
yeah, like I really don't know how people do it. Like, because I've also attempted like I don't know how many like I don't know if you do this, but I don't know how many of like anyone listening do this as well. If you're streaming, I keep my OBS like maximized, right? Like fully taking up the screen. But I've seen some people or I've heard of some people like making it smaller to accommodate for other windows, so they can see everything all together. Like,
Oh, I definitely do that. Yeah.
oh, you do that?
Yeah. I never have OBS maximized on the other window.
Oh, interesting. But like, it's just so for me. It's so it feels so weird because it's like a smaller. Um, if you had to give a list of the top three essentials in terms of anything, right? Just anything. It doesn't have to be hardware only specific, but the top three essential things for you to be a streamer.
For for to be a streamer,
Mm.
well, let's add hardware there anyway for the first one. I think like a microphone is definitely like up there. Like it doesn't have to be an expensive microphone, it just has to be one that can carry your voice and let people hear you.
Mm.
Um top 3, I'd say um this question was actually harder than I thought it would be. It,
It's
does it
hard to
have
it's hard to put it down to
yeah.
three.
It, does it have to be like specific hardware or software?
Uh,
It's like
no.
you said, like what are the 3 essential things, right?
Yeah, like it could be anything. Like if you think a good characteristic or
Like
personality persona is
like a
essential.
good, I would say a good motivation. And if we're ranking it in
Mm.
order, I would put it like on the first
Mm-hmm.
reasoning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because some people want to start streaming for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to get into this journey with the right reasons.
Uh-huh.
And like I feel like one of those reasons that's definitely that people can definitely tell is if you're doing this not to have fun, not to share joy,
Yeah.
but just to make a quick buck or just to try to earn money and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with like streaming to make profit,
Mm-hmm.
but if that's like your primary motivator, I feel like it's really not it for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like motivation like comes a long way because
Yeah.
it also like if depending on what your motivation is for streaming, it also determines like how long you're gonna be able to keep up without wanting to quit, how
Yeah.
long you're gonna be able to ke- keep up with being like who you are and stuff.
Mm.
Which does bring to the third one, which would be like you said, character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like pretty important
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that you're not really fostering a fake persona or pretending to be someone who you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like the most one of the most important things you can do is just to be yourself.
Mm.
Like this is me on camera, this is me out of camera.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same picture kind of
Mm-hmm.
deal, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one hardware answer and two non-hardware answers.
What was the hardware answer?
The
The mic, the
microphone.
mic. Okay. Oh, I love those answers actually. I really like the motivation one. That was a good answer. Because I highly agree with it. And that was a I didn't expect that answer, but I really agree with that. That was such a good answer. So microphone, motivation, and character or personality. I think that's a solid top three. That's a solid top three. There's no right answer. There's top three for different people, but um I think that's a solid. Yeah. Um actually, because you mentioned stuff like that, I want to get your firsts on Twitch. This is uh like a first follow, first sub, first cheer slash dono, first hype train, first raid. Can you remember any of those? Or like,
Oh,
can you
it's
talk about
hard to
any of
remember because
them?
it's been so long.
Mm-hmm,
It's been like a couple of years ago.
mm-hmm.
But the first subs actually is pretty memorable.
Okay.
I would say because I remember being in voice call with some friends like that I like watched a lot of streams. So I watched their streams a lot and stuff, and it was around the time like I just got affiliated as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then like oh I literally just got like the email around the same day while we were in voice call, and I mentioned it to them, and it's like oh okay, and then like they rushed to sub to get like the founders badge as
Uh-huh.
well, and it's
Uh-huh.
like you only need like three people, right?
Uh-huh.
And and so you just need three people to basically start like hype train. So they basically managed to start an offline hype train and get like the first three subs like off stream. I thought that was like pretty
Oh,
memorable as well. They
okay.
don't stream a lot anymore though, because like I feel like a lot of people who did start streaming during the pandemic as well, like once the world opened back up, like got a lot more busy.
Mm-hmm.
So I do miss them, but I totally understand like
Yeah.
life taking people to different directions.
Mm.
But yeah, that was a time to remember for sure.
That's a crazy thing. Like a offline hype train when you first got affiliated. That must have been like crazy. Like what the fuck's going on, right?
Yeah.
Um, like how did you know what was happening again? Sorry.
Oh, we were in voice call and
All right,
stuff,
you're in a voice call. I see.
and then I went to check because like they mentioned.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So is that like the only first thing that you can remember, or like most memorable that you can talk about?
Trying to remember like for first follow. The thing is, I remember friends sort of following like before I started streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if those really count because
Okay.
it's more of your friends like wanting to support you, and it's really really sweet of like friends to want to do that. Of
Eh,
course,
yeah. Yeah.
I remember it being if it's like the first follow like when I started streaming. It's I think the first stream I did.
Yeah.
So I wanted my first stream to be a game that I felt represented like who I am.
Uh huh.
And for my debut stream, I chose the game Kind Words.
Okay.
So for anyone who doesn't know what the game is, it's basically a game where you can choose to like read people's like problems and like no, these are real life people as well who are sending these problems out,
Mm-hmm.
and you can choose to like respond to them as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to read it. Similarly, you can also type your own problems, or it doesn't have to be problems. It can just be stuff that you want to share,
Mm-hmm.
and people can respond back to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember someone following from that stream, which was really sweet as well, I
Mm-hmm.
thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, that's definitely that counts if you're only including it or limiting it to follows like after I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
That's
it's like way before, like IRL friends are definitely really really sweet for always supporting you.
yeah. Like
Like even yeah.
that's actually something came out of this. Actually, how does it feel when your IRL friends tune into your stream? If they do tune into your stream, how do you deal with that? Is it normal to you, or is like do you feel a stranger?
No, I would say it just feels normal. I feel like I think a lot of people do feel because I've heard people feel awkward when like their IRL friends like tune in and stuff
Yeah.
because then it's like they get embarrassed and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's something I mentioned earlier when we were talking about like having character as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like who I am on stream, on camera, on voice is the same person like outside of like stream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So essentially, if I do something weird on stream, it's not something my friends get surprised by,
Okay.
because I would probably do similarly weird things outside of stream anyway. Similarly, if I do something weird off of stream, if I was catching it on camera, like the people watching wouldn't really find it like strange because it's just normal rich behavior.
Okay. Okay. That's good though. Consistent. Also, like, you're consistent with your character. Um. um. All right. That actually that brings us to our last question, which I feel this is a very, it can be heavy, but do you have any thoughts on, and do you deal with anything related to mental health and streaming?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
Like, I remember when I specifically started as well that I, because I mentioned I did a lot of indie games, right? And some of those indie games would have a very heavy kind of theme that goes into certain topics that might be like too heavy for some people to deal with as well without a trigger warning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, I feel like these are topics that are part and parcel of life that we really shouldn't try to avoid. And sometimes you need people talking about them no matter how hard they are. Especially when I was starting stream, I remember being in therapy at the time as well. Like I would basically have sessions where I had therapy like once or twice like a month and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would just be open and talk about that, like, oh, I have like a session like on so and so, and yeah. But because I feel like when you're on stream, right, especially like for most streamers, I feel like everyone can relate to this. You do feel like that pressure to always put on that happy face.
Mm-hmm.
Like you always have to be at your best. Sort of like how K-pop idols can never ever be caught like sad. You always have to have that smile. You always have to be happy. You always have to be at your best. But we are only just human, and those moments where you might feel more down than usual, I feel like it's important to acknowledge those as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's like a bit more mixed for me these days because I haven't been doing a lot of the indie games and stuff, so it hasn't necessarily come out as a topic. Like, but at the same time, like if I'm feeling like a bit worse that day, I just try to be more candid about like, oh, this is how I'm feeling right now as well,
Mm-hmm.
without really trying to sugarcoat it. So sometimes people can tell,
Okay.
but I think it's okay that people can tell, and that we shouldn't really have to feel like we have to hide when like our mental health isn't the best,
Uh-huh.
especially because it lets us know that it's okay to have bad mental health days,
Mm-hmm.
but there are people who are there for you in those days that things are feeling bad, and it's okay to talk about your feelings and emotions and to express them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who are going to listen, who are going to like not even necessarily offer advice, just be there.
Mm-hmm.
And that
uh,
it's okay to feel how you feel.
that's good. I like that. I like that transparency and being able to open up and being vulnerable. That's definitely a good first step to take. um has anything mental health related uh caused you to end stream prematurely or prevented you from starting stream?
From endings, from starting stream prematurely, I would say, from ending stream prematurely, I would say no,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, we do have this pressure to be at our best, and even though I try not to conform to it, like sometimes it does get the most of you, so you try to be at least um decently presentable before you go on. But like there are moments when you do feel kind of like, oh, I'm really not feeling it today, so you basically just don't start at all. So it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely happened, yeah.
Mm. Okay. um like, is it like canceled stream, right? Have you had to cancel stream like that you were going to do?
Oh, I would say yeah, definitely. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's hard for me to call it like a cancellation because I usually don't plan things out. Like,
Oh, it's
yeah,
oh, by the way, like off topic, off topic. Do you have a like set schedule?
I do not. I think
Okay, okay, okay.
because aside from like when I did like Pride Month streams,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I never really conformed to a schedule
Mm-hmm.
because I found that whenever I had a schedule, like it felt constrictive.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and then like if you suddenly don't feel well that day,
Yeah.
it feels bad,
Yeah.
and then you have to cancel and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you never set it in stone, then technically you're not canceling anything.
Mm-hmm. 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 Um, why I ask, which is relevant to mental health, is because I feel the same way. Like I used to when I first started, I put like the times, the exact times on my schedule. So I typically do stream like on set days, um, and I put it down to the time, and that really affected my mental health because if I felt like if I didn't like be ready for stream on time, it would really mess up with my like mentality. Like, oh, I'm late. Um, or like, oh, I'm not gonna be ready in time. So that really messed up with like how I approached it, and it became a very like laborious thing. Whereas when I stopped doing that, I felt um a lot more free, and it was just more. It was so much more casual. So no, I agree with your approach. You're technically not canceling.
Yeah, technically.
Okay. And how do you deal with I'm sure like you've dealt with like toxicity on Twitch chat, right? I can only assume like you've run into a couple of oddballs or like just negative behavior. How does that affect you, and if so, how?
Thankfully, like even though I've like those occasional things have like emerged, it hasn't been like consistent because I would say that my community is like mostly like really nice as I described it like previously. Um, but I think like one thing I used to do was essentially take things literally sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say they're trying to make a comment to make something like to make you feel bad or to make someone feel bad or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes taking like a comment literally in a sense that like it backfires on them
Mm-hmm.
like helps. Like you're intentionally reading the comment as what they're not intending it to be, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
So it frustrates them sort of, but at the same time, you don't understand. You don't know what they're talking about. Like you're just reading what they're saying. Why are they frustrated? I'd say like that's one trick I used to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a good deflective tactic.
Yeah, like deflecting. Like that's the word. That's the word. Like I feel like it helps to like reverse it on them.
Mm-hmm. Uno reverse.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, I haven't really gotten like a lot of hate comments on stream or anything like that.
Okay.
And thankfully, like no hate raids or anything so far.
Oh wow.
So crossing fingers, it never happens.
Wow. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
overall, I haven't had to deal with a lot of toxicity on stream so far, at least.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay. I that's very blessed. Very fortunate. And I hope you don't too. Cuz yeah, it's have you dealt with like drama within your stream or like in other uh you don't have to get into detail, but like have you ever dealt with drama on like Twitch related?
It's actually hilarious because I hear about like people having drama all the time,
Mhm.
but it's not something that's I've come across like even close in my general vicinity. Like I'm sure people around me have had like moments of drama, but because I'm not like an insider, I don't really hear about like a lot of the going ons and ins and stuff. So I would say I'm pretty much like always avoiding, not intentionally, just like if I'm standing in a road and like drama's coming at me, it kind of just like swerves and takes a right turn before it even hits me, before it even makes that collision. Like
Okay.
that's what it feels like.
Okay. Okay.
I
That's
don't avoid it; it just avoids me.
that's actually good. That's a good thing. I wish that would be the case always. Just that way, please. Um okay. Uh that's pretty much all I have, but that was uh a very productive conversation. I want to end on one last thing for the segment. Um do you have any words for the aspiring streamer or someone who already is streaming? Either one. Any words of advice slash encouragement to get them to push them to start or continue?
For people who have never started, do it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the hardest part about starting streaming is starting your first stream, but once you get into it, it's gonna be sort of like, waking up, eating breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
like just a part of a regular routine. For people who have already started, if I had to give advice, it's to not forget why you started streaming in the first place.
Oh, I love that. I
Because
love
it
that.
becomes easy to like lose sight of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and to feel disappointed at yourself, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're not growing fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you feel like you're disappointing people. Oh, you feel like you're not entertaining and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like look back at the reason why you started like this journey,
Mm-hmm.
and then like use that to kind of encapsulate your entire experience. Like, oh, like in my case, I just want to make at least one person happy. And if I've done that, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's enough.
I love that answer. That okay, mic drop moment right there. That was beautifully put. That was beautifully put. Thank you so much, Rich. I know we're gonna continue this, but we're gonna end the podcast segment right here. Uh, can you please plug in any social media that you have, that you're active in, so that people anywhere listening, can find you if they really vibe with you.
Oh, for sure. So I mostly go by summoner underscore sage on Twitch, on Twitter, on Discord. And on Twitter, it's mostly just random posts, either like when I'm about to go live or just random thoughts or happenings or goings on in my day. Though those are a lot less frequent these days.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I don't use certain platforms like Instagram or TikTok,
Mm-hmm,
so I
mm-hmm,
can't
mm-hmm.
plug those.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. Or did you say Discord?
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I'm not as active on my own server even.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always down to like talk to people.
Yeah. So that's summoner underscore sage. You can see the name on screen. If you want to go check him out, follow him. I mean, if you vibe with him, he's a good friend of mine, and I think like, yeah, you gave some really amazing answers. You did so well. Like honestly, thank you so much for chatting with me.